Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Week 2 of the NFL season is upon us, and there is money to be made, and helping us make that money is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you on this lovely Saturday morning?
I am better than Deshaun Watson. How about that?
Well, we'll get to the Deshaun Watson madness and what I think is irresponsible speculating by Mike Florio. But first, we should talk about the game that happened Thursday night. Buffalo just manhandled Miami in that game. It was what I expected. I texted you earlier this week, and I was like, why is Buffalo 2-point underdogs? They own Miami. What were your thoughts on that game?
That I did not expect Buffalo to look that good and Miami to look that bad early in the game before everything went down with Tua. I was shocked. Buffalo really started slow week 1, but I mean, a lot of people started slow week 1. A lot of teams didn't look great. But I thought if there was ever a time for Miami to get Buffalo, it would have been right then. And it didn't happen. Buffalo is very much taking over what New England did to the conference in the division for years, and kind of feels like Buffalo's moved into that role.
Buffalo just owns Miami, and they're a really up and down team, so I wasn't surprised that they came out and really put it to Miami. The big news out of this game, though, is Tua gets another concussion. I don't know what he was doing on that play. He dove right into Damar Hamlin of all people, and I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what happens with him. I don't really know what to say about Tua's injury history now, or I don't really know what to say about this new concussion for Tua because he's had several before. He has one now. We've talked about it with Denzel Ward. I'm not comfortable saying a player should retire, but I feel more confident now that players have all the information they need to make the decision. And if he decides to keep playing, then he decides to keep playing. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Tua might be the first case of a team helping a player make the right decision, but I don't know if the Dolphins are willing to do that with the contract they've given to him. So, Mike McDonald seemed honestly concerned for the health of Tua. Once again, what was he doing on that play? Why? Just slide, dude. Just slide.
And I mean, at that point, the game's pretty much over.
Yeah.
That's an unnecessary, and it wasn't even that anybody hit him. It was an unnecessary hit to give, kind of like what we talked about with Lamar Jackson last week. He seemed to be seeking out contact on that play. Tua looked to be seeking contact in a way. I don't know. It just, it's a scary situation.
I think as of fans, just the fans of the game, you don't want to see anybody go through what either of those two players have gone through.
No.
And you hope Tua is okay, and you hope he can make the right decision, but we're also firm believers that CTE is what caused Antonio Brown to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and you hate to see that happen to another player. So,
yeah. So we'll just have to see how that plays out, how long he's out, when he comes back, if he comes back this year. Well, we'll just have to see how this all plays out with Miami when he comes back, if he comes back. He probably will. He'll probably be back later this week. He'll probably be back later this year. I mean, they have a game in 10 days. We'll see if he's back for that one. That seems, I don't know, like him playing in 10 days fills me with worry. But that's their decision, and we'll see how it plays out for them. The Cleveland Browns have their own quarterback problems, not just on the field, but Deshaun Watson facing another civil suit. This came on Monday. What are your thoughts on this, Jimmy? Just another black eye in this pretty sordid affair.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many thoughts. I think the first thing that I didn't understand was, once again, it's a Jane Doe, which I have no problem with that. Tony Busby again is the attorney, which is a little, worrisome because of his reputation. But there seemed to be as much evidence, possibly even more, because they were talking about video.
Yeah, it'll really, I think, come down to what's on that video.
Right, but there was at least as much evidence as all the other suits you settled. And this was only new to us on Monday, if we are to believe Tony Busby, who says he's been trying to settle this for 10 months. And I cannot for the life of me understand why you wouldn't have just settled this.
I mean, that's the key question here. He settled the other ones. Why not settle this one, especially when there's video evidence? And then Deshaun Watson, when he talked about it on Wednesday, was like, this is the first I've heard of it. So if Busby's been trying to reach out and negotiate some kind of settlement, and does that just mean that Watson's legal team has just rebuffed all those attempts and has not even told Watson this is coming? That seems unlikely.
I agree. It seems unlikely.
And if that is the case, then this is another moment where I would have to say that Deshaun Watson needs to take a closer look at the people that are around him, specifically his legal team, and be like, hey, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah. But I don't believe that this is the first he heard of it.
No, me either.
And the big scuttlebutt with this has been more, can the Browns get out of his contract? And I mentioned before that Mike Florio has been going on and on and on about how the Browns could possibly get out of this contract. And I just want to be clear, Mike Florio is a former lawyer. He knows his shit when it comes to lawyering, but he doesn't know his shit when it comes to irresponsible reporting. He is a guy that is Mr. Speculation and all the things that could possibly happen but probably won't. I refer everybody to the Andy Reid might retire if they win the Super Bowl this year. And then he signed a contract extension in the offseason. And he was talking about how Patrick Mahomes is, he's 28 and, he's going to turn 29 this year, Jimmy. Then he's going to turn 30. And then, when is he going to retire? So just to really try to wrap up everything that everybody's been talking about with the out clause. First and foremost, if Deshaun Watson and the Browns had some sort of arrangement where Watson said, look, I don't know who's going to be filing civil suits against me in the future. There could be dozens of women. The Browns could have just said, okay, we know that that's a possibility for past acts, but we're only going to void the contract for new acts after, pick a date, say 2022. If that deal isn't, if that has been in place, then the out section of his contract will not apply because it only applies to new things that he did not disclose, or, which is legal terms for the team didn't know about it. He knew, which really means he knew about it and didn't tell the team, which in this case, if this only popped up 10 months ago, I don't know how he could have disclosed it 2 years ago. So that's the first thing that we have to look at. And the second part, the paragraph 42 that everybody's been talking about, lays out 3 scenarios in which Cleveland can void the contract. The first 2 relate to criminal charges, which do not apply in this case. This is a civil case, so 2 of those 3 are out. The third scenario says, quote, no circumstances exist that would prevent players continuing availability to the club for the duration of this contract. This is why everybody is wondering if the NFL is going to suspend him. Because if the NFL suspends him and he didn't disclose this, and the Browns aren't going to hold stuff that happened in the past against him, it's going to be really difficult for them to void this contract, Jimmy. Like, there's just a lot of ifs. And even if all of those get satisfied, let's say the Browns do want to press this and void the contract, good luck, because Watson's team's going to immediately file a lawsuit, and now you're entering into a whole new era of, instead of the civil cases of Deshaun Watson's sexual indiscretions, now we will go into the morass of contract law and all the back and forth with that, and it'll be a black eye. And the thing I'll wrap up with here before I toss to you, Jimmy, is if the Cleveland Browns did their due diligence, shouldn't they have known about this case beforehand or known that this was a possibility?
Yes, but did anything with Deshaun Watson feel like there was due diligence?
No, not at all. Well, I don't even know if it matters if there was due diligence. I don't think the Browns cared. I think the Browns just looked at Deshaun Watson and said, we don't give a fuck about what you did. We don't care about those women. We just think you can help us win a Super Bowl, so we're going to bring you here. And the contract they gave him says that. Yep.
And, I mean, there's just, we we have to get Baker out of this building because he is willing to question the unchecked authority we have given Kevin Stefanski and to appoint Andrew Berry and to appoint Dee Podesta, and there will be none of that. And if we give Deshaun Watson 230 guaranteed, he'll come in and he will not do any of that. And they were correct. And I just think if you were telling someone about this entire situation who had been frozen in time and they're a football fan, but they've been frozen in time for like 10 years, and you were telling them about this situation without telling them what team all of this was going on for, they could probably tell you what team this was happening to.
Yeah.
Because it is like
it's just the same old shit.
I don't know if Deshaun Watson is still good at football. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski and Ken Dorsey can run plays that Deshaun Watson can look good at football, but this cannot help.
Yeah, and to get this back on the field, seeing Baker play so well in Tampa, not just last week, but last season, and seeing what Flacco did in this offense that was more under center, play action based, like that's perfect for Baker Mayfield. They got rid of a quarterback who matched the system their coach runs to get a guy who can't run the system his coach wants to run. And they've had to, I feel, and I think you feel as well, undermine his authority as the coach to pick his own staff so that they can bring more guys in to help Deshaun Watson. And it just looked awful last week. I know they have a cobbled together O-line, but that was an embarrassment. I mean, that team got manhandled, Jimmy.
So I think first off, whether Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry like it or not, it sure looks like all of us that said, man, the guys who might be starting together week one should probably play a quarter together in the preseason.
I don't know. Like maybe we were right. Maybe that would help them line up correctly.
Looks like maybe we were right. You were wrong on that one.
Well, but this is like the third or fourth year we've said that.
Yeah, but I just feel like going back to the initial signing of Deshaun Watson, I feel like, and maybe it's a Mandela effect, I don't know, but I feel like I remember over and over and over hearing Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson give interviews about, man, we sat down, we talked football, we were on the same page. I know what he wants to do best. He does what I want to do best. It is going to be a perfect fit. And now this is the third time we've reintroduced a new offense that does what Deshaun Watson does best. And that was what Deshaun Watson could do best.
But the offense looked exactly the same as it has every year. They keep changing stuff, but nothing looks changed. I mean, where like I have all this stuff written out where it's like it's not just the injured and terrible O-line or Watson looking panicked and paranoid and awful, or once again, Thornton and whoever else is responsible for a blown coverage pointing at each other after an easy touchdown for the other team, or another special teams failure. The lack of originality from a coach who's a two-time coach of the year. It's, to your point about where is all that stuff that they talked about before? They spent all season talking about pre-snap motion. They didn't even do any of that. That doesn't have anything to do with what the defense is doing to you. In fact, if you run some pre-snap motion, maybe it'll give your quarterback and offensive line some idea of who's coming in from where so that maybe you can block a little bit. Like, it's just, how do we, like, these guys say whatever the fuck they want during the season, or these guys say whatever the fuck they want during the off season, and they don't get any pushback from Cleveland media about the fact that this is the same shit they say every year. And then we look at the field, when we look at what they do on the field, it's exactly the same shit that they've been doing for years on the field that doesn't match what they've been saying in the off season.
Yeah, it has been
like this is an offense that has choice routes. Can they not work out a simple audible tree where you line up and play A and then audible to predetermined plan B? Like, can that not happen? I mean, fucking peewee teams do that, Jimmy.
Yeah, they do.
Where were the quick passes? Where were the screens? Where were the slants? Where was just anything to help get the ball out of his hands more quickly to slow down that pass rush a little bit and maybe, just maybe, give them half a second pause so that you can run? How about a draw? I don't know, something to combat what they were doing instead of, well, we'll just sit back and shotgun and have Deshaun Watson run around.
But now I can't let you just completely beat the offensive plays up for that, because there were multiple screens and multiple short slants called with a clean pocket, and he just refused to throw the football and ran into sacks.
Well, that's probably a bigger problem then.
So that was as bad of a performance from a Cleveland Browns team since DeShone Kizer was starting quarterback.
Oh, that's bad. That leads to a different question. Is the pre-snap motion not in there because what it reveals doesn't matter because Deshaun Watson can't properly read it?
Yes.
Because that's what I think the problem is. I think Watson's gotten fat and comfortable not playing. I think we know defenses have made significant adjustments to curtail passing games, specifically the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, what Shanahan's doing, what McVay's doing. And Watson was sitting at home collecting millions and millions of dollars instead of keeping up on what defensive innovations have been made. And now he's out on the field, and when he plays good defenses that employ those tactics, he looks completely lost. Don't come at me about, oh, well, he looked good against, fill in the blank bad defense. Like, I don't care. Like, if you can't beat Dallas can't win a Super Bowl because they're not good enough. How are the Browns going to be a Super Bowl contender when they just got completely outclassed? Yeah,
and we, as you've said, the Deshaun Watson believers, the Baker haters, they have hung their hat, on a few good quarters and a good half of play of Deshaun Watson. But when you come out week one and you specifically tell us there won't be any rust, this new system is great, it's exactly what Deshaun Watson wants, and it looks like that, there can be no excuses.
No.
There's no excuses to make. Stefanski tries to blame it on penalties, whatever. Like, it's everybody's fault, including everyone in the front office. Like, that was Dallas.
Was a mess.
They made Dallas look way better than Dallas is.
Well, Dallas does this against mediocre teams. We see them do it all the time. They kick the shit out of mediocre teams, and that's what the Browns looked like on Sunday.
But the Cleveland Browns are Super Bowl contenders. What are you talking about?
I mean, I don't believe that. I took the under, Jimmy.
I know.
Let's get to the game tomorrow. Cleveland's traveling to Jacksonville. They're now 3-point underdogs. They were 3.5-point underdogs. The over-under still sits at 41.5. What are you expecting from this Browns team that really struggled on the road last season?
Well, I'm going to, we've talked about a lot, last couple of years, how national media and local media portray the Cleveland Browns in two completely different lights. And it was rough for the radio personalities in Cleveland this week to have to combat the beatdowns that the Browns took from national media. And a lot of the local personalities have just simply said, hey, it was a bad game. It was Dallas. Week 2 will be fine.
Well,
now, when we looked at the schedule...
Just real quick, you've got Jason Lloyd now saying that they should do everything they can to get Deshaun Watson out of town. This is the same Jason Lloyd who advocated for getting Watson and ran Baker Mayfield out of town. So he's at least he's consistent in trying to run Browns quarterbacks out of town.
Yeah, but when you looked at the schedule for like the first 5 games, you thought Dallas might be rough, but then you've got a good flow of wins that you can stack after that. But here's what I know about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have an okay pass rush, and they have a quarterback that knows how to throw to open slot receivers. So I'm taking Jacksonville by 6.
Wow. I have no idea what to do with this game, and I would encourage people to not bet on this game, at least the team-wide, like the team lines, because Jacksonville last week showed that they have a lot of their own problems, and some of them are kind of similar to what the Browns do. They have receivers that can't catch the ball. Their defense looks good at times. Their defense looks bad at times. They have, Travis Etienne has a lot of talent. He has a lot of talent, but I don't know. He seems to be really, really up and down. I keep going back and forth. At the line at 3, when it was 3.5, I was thinking Browns, just because this is what the Browns do. They'll probably come out and play. The defense will play with their hair on fire because they're backed up into a corner, and they do tend to respond in these moments because I don't know why they can't just come out and win games early and not put themselves in this position. But here we are again. I can't even think of what's going to happen with the over-under because I think Jacksonville is going to be able to score points. But I don't know how Cleveland's going to do offensively. So I'm with you. I guess I'll take Jacksonville, and I will reluctantly take the over because I think Jacksonville is going to put up 30 points because I still don't think this defense is any good, Jimmy. They're just mediocre. Everybody's talking about, look at Dak's passing numbers. He didn't do anything that great. It's yeah, he didn't need to. This game was over in the early third quarter.
Yeah.
And they put up 17 points in the first half. So
yeah, early in the game when they wanted to throw the football, they did whatever they wanted to do.
I mean, we're still just, people are just no. Look at the advanced stats. The Browns keep winning. It's yeah, but when tomorrow when we watch the game, when Jacksonville gets an easy touchdown because Cleveland blows a coverage, that's not an exception. That's a rule. Yeah. That is not a bug in the Cleveland defense. That is a feature. It happens almost every single week, regardless of who they play. And I don't know how this team can survive with an offense that looks that bad. Even if it's better, it's still not going to be very good. So I'm with you. I like Jacksonville. I don't know if they win by a full 6, but I guess I'll take Jacksonville. I'll take the over. Man, if Cleveland really does need to win this game because a loss here would be really bad early. You can justify a loss to Dallas. It's out of conference, but it's going to be a dogfight for the playoff in the AFC. And Jacksonville's a team that you're going to need tiebreakers against. So this is a big game, big early game. I guess that's enough bashing of the Cleveland Browns after their pitiful performance last week, Jimmy. Let's move on to the rest of the slate. The first game that we're going to talk about is the San Francisco 49ers are traveling to Minnesota. They are now 5-point favorites. This was a 6-point spread a couple days ago. Over-under is 46. That's up a half point from midweek. And we saw San Francisco pretty much just manhandle the Jets, and Minnesota pretty much manhandled the Giants. So a bad week for the two teams that beat up on New York teams are playing each other here. I saw a stat that San Francisco has not won in Minnesota in 34 years. Jimmy, do you expect that to change?
I think they'll win, but I think it's more like a field goal. I think Minnesota is decent enough at home to be able to keep this close. But I guess we'll find out. No, I take that back. San Francisco by a touchdown.
I've got San Francisco. I think they're going to win this game easily. Beating the New York Giants, that team's a complete fucking mess. And just spare me the Sam Darnold's back bullshit. I think he gets exposed this game.
I wrote it down and I was gonna do it. I had a whole bit and I just can't. I can't.
It's because he's not good. That team's. I don't want to say the Vikings are a terrible, terrible team, but they're not a good team. And San Francisco, these are the types of games that San Francisco mollywops people. They just. If you're not at least an above average team, San Francisco usually kicks the shit out of you. And it looks like Christian McCaffrey is going to go on IR and they're going to miss him for a few weeks. We'll see if Mason can continue his really solid play like he did last week against the Jets. Our next matchup sees the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Vegas, baby, and they are taking on the Raiders. This is another game that had a lot of movement. Baltimore was favored by 9.5 on Wednesday. That line is now down to 8. The over-under still sits at 41.5. What are your thoughts on Baltimore? Or Baltimore hosting Vegas, sorry.
Yeah, it's a big number, but I still like the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm with you. This just seems like a classic Baltimore blowout. Vegas hasn't played Baltimore in a few years, so that defense isn't going to know what to do with Lamar. And Gardner Minshew against the Ravens is just that. I hit a Minshew parlay last week, Jimmy. I did over yards and an interception and the Chargers money line, and that was one of my. I had actually had a bunch of parlays hit. That was one of my three leg parlays that hit. So I'll probably play something like that again because he's going to have to throw a ton in this game because Baltimore's not going to let them run the ball.
No.
Up next, we have the Tennessee Titans hosting the New York Jets. The Jets are 3.5-point favorites. Over-under sits at 41. Jimmy, I don't know what to make of that Tennessee-Chicago game, and based on what I saw from San Francisco and the Jets are who I thought they were. Do you have any reservations about the Jets after what you saw Monday night?
No, I think that was just I honestly think it was the 49ers, even without Christian McCaffrey, reminding everybody that they are, excuse me, they are class of the NFC, possibly of the NFL. I think the Jets will handle the Titans easily in this game.
I'm going to take Tennessee here. I'm staying away from this game in general, but I'm going to take Tennessee because if that Tennessee defense can really shut down the Jets, that does not bode well for New York. The passing chart for Aaron Rodgers was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that they were only throwing passes to the left side of the field. That is not a way to have sustained success in the NFL.
No.
It'll be interesting to see if they can get Breece Hall going. If they can run the ball effectively, does that open things up for the passing game? I don't know. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers. They are hosting the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are 3-point favorites. Over-under sits at 40.5. Jordan Love's going to be out for at least a few weeks. So we get the Malik Willis show again, Jimmy. What? He did not play well when he was in Tennessee. Do you expect him to look any better under Matt LaFleur?
He may look a little better, but I don't think he'll look good enough to get a win here. I got to take the Colts.
Yeah, I got to take the Colts too, and I still don't like Richardson as a long-term prospect, but there's some problems for that Green Bay defense. They got really, really abused by Philadelphia, and we saw Philadelphia's defense get abused by Green Bay, so Green Bay has to at least show up here and limit the Colts a little bit. They have to at least be able to limit the deep passing for Richardson and force him to complete passes, short, timely passes, because he completed 9 passes for like 240 yards, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, but he really struggled. I mean, he really struggled staying in the pocket and making the short to intermediate passes. It looked bad. It looked bad when he tried to do that. So that'll be the Packers' goal. I just don't know. I think Richardson is talented enough. He'll be able to break open a couple of plays, and I just don't know what Green Bay's offense is going to look like. Yeah,
all the questions that are at quarterback in Indianapolis exist for Green Bay, but even more. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who are home, fresh off their blowout win in Cleveland. They're playing New Orleans, fresh off their blowout win against the Panthers. Dallas, 6-point favorites now. That's down 0.5 point from Wednesday. Over-under is 46. Jimmy, Dallas feasts on mediocre to bad teams, and I think that's what New Orleans is. I think they cruise to an easy win here. You're trying to talk yourself into Derek Carr, aren't you? Just because I picked Dallas.
I really like I made a bit for like all the quarterbacks you can't stand that played well last week, but I don't actually believe any of it. Like it's Dallas. It's got to be Dallas. Like there's no way the Saints are anywhere near as good as the performance they put on last week. It has to be Dallas.
Yeah, Carolina's just a bad football team.
Yeah.
A team I thought would be terrible, the New England Patriots, are coming off a win. They are home hosting the Seattle Seahawks, who also got kind of an ugly win against Denver. The Seahawks are 3-point road favorites here. Over-under is, 38.5 now. That's up 0.5 point. Cincinnati always sucks in week 1, so should we just look at that as that's just what Cincinnati does, or is this New England team better than we thought?
I mean, I don't think New England did a whole lot to make them look good. I think the defense might have played a little bit better than I thought.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
but Seattle coming all the way across the country, New England having at least an ideal of what they can do for success. And I didn't think Seattle looked great against Denver. I think I'm probably leaning New England here.
I think this game ends up being a push because I think Seattle wins by a field goal.
There you go.
So I'm going to take Seattle. I'm taking the under for sure. I think Mike McDonald will have something for Jacoby Brissett. That defense looked pretty good. I maybe they're still figuring some things out there, but I have a feeling I think New England's bad, and I'm going to keep betting that until I'm really proven otherwise.
That seems fair.
Another team that I will be betting against because I think they're bad until proven otherwise are the Carolina Panthers. They are home hosting the Los Angeles Chargers, and this is wow. This is now a 5-point game. This was 6.5 on Wednesday, Jimmy. The over-under is still 39. LA's just going to run the ball right down Carolina's throat. I don't see how they don't win this game by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, and I think, the Chargers defense, nobody's on the IR yet. So yep. Carolina's not going to be able to do anything. I like the under, and I like the Chargers here. Yeah, and
I think you can really look to bet the running backs for the Chargers to go over on their carries and yardage. Harbaugh is not going to make Justin Herbert do anything he doesn't need to do. He's dealing with that foot injury. So I think he's just going to continue running it down people's throats like he did in Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, well, we talked about it in the picks. I mean, it was so smart of Harbaugh to go grab two running backs that he knew what they were going to be able to do. Grabbed an offensive coordinator that knew what they wanted to do. I think the Chargers are going to be a hard out for everybody all year.
Yeah, and he went out and got another offensive tackle, and everybody said, no, you got to go get receivers. And he's like, no, I think I'm just going to have a better offensive line than everybody and bulldoze people.
Yeah.
Another team I think is bad until proven otherwise are the New York Giants, Jimmy. They are traveling to Washington to take on the Armada. This is a 1.5-point spread towards the Armada. The over-under sits at 43.5. Oh boy, Jimmy, the Giants couldn't slow down Sam Darnold. And how long do you think it is before Daniel Jones is benched for Drew Lock?
I mean, to a point, that contract, much like Deshaun, might make Daniel Jones unbenchable.
Oh no, they have an out after this year. They can cut him, and all the guaranteed money. There might be some residual money, but that was really a 2-year, $90 million deal.
Right, but it's after this year, correct?
No, the first year was last year.
Oh, I thought it was 3.
Well, now hold on. Well, I guess I can.
No, you may very well be right. I thought it was 3, but it may have been because I thought it was an extension.
Yeah, if they cut him next off season, it's like a $22 million dead cap hit.
And that's not bad then. All right.
You can totally get away with that, especially with how bad he's been and with how bad the team's been. You're going to be looking to draft a quarterback.
Yeah. So to answer your question,
it's not as bad as the Watson situation, where best case scenario, if they cut him in the offseason, it's $115 million next year on the cap, and then 53 the year after.
Uncuttable. I don't know if the Giants can put their pride away and admit they made a humongous mistake drafting Daniel Jones, where they drafted Daniel Jones, paying Daniel Jones what they paid Daniel Jones. But when the guy's thrown more pick sixes than touchdowns over a stretch of games, your team has no chance to win. And
that's problem.
I don't know how long you can go without losing the team in the locker room, where they go, we don't necessarily know if we can win with Drew Lock or Tommy Cutlets, but we know we can't win with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, extending Daniel Jones and not Saquon Barkley is to the NFC East what Cleveland trading for Watson and running Baker out of town is to the AFC North.
Yeah.
It's just a disaster.
Yeah.
Up next, we have the Detroit Lions. They are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, speaking of Baker. This is now a 7.5-point game. This was a 7-point game a couple days ago. Over-under sits at 51.5. Probably going to see a lot of points in this game, Jimmy. This is a rematch of a playoff game last year. Detroit just looked like they were better than Tampa last year. Do you think anything's changed that?
Well, they looked better, but it was still a dogfight to the last 2 minutes of the game.
It was.
I like the over, and I like Tampa to cover this. I don't think Detroit's defense is going to let them beat any good teams by more than a touchdown. It's 7. I still thought it was a push, so it's 7.5. I'm all over Tampa.
That's exactly my thoughts. When it was 7, I liked Detroit because I was leaning on the over, and I do like the over here too. But now that it's 7.5, I do like Tampa Bay to keep this within a touchdown. Our next game sees the Arizona Cardinals hosting the LA Rams. This game is now a 1-point spread, was 1.5. The over-under is down to 47.5. It was 49 earlier. I just, like, the continuing saga of Kyler Murray, man. He just didn't look, I don't think he looked all that great in that game, but you also have a Rams team that is incredibly beat up. What the hell do we make of this game?
I think the Rams, incredibly beat up, are still better than the Cardinals. I think Sean McVay knows how to deal with Kyler. I don't know. Hopefully, for Marvin Harrison Jr.'s sake, Kyler Murray will be able to see him this time. But yeah, I'm taking the Rams here. I like the Rams in this one.
Yeah, I like the Rams with the points because that Arizona defense is just dreadful. They're just so bad. I don't think they're going to be able to get a pass rush even with that beat-up line. And Cooper Kupp looked excellent. He just really did. And they're going to need him with Puka Nacua out for a couple weeks.
Yep.
Game of the week here, Jimmy. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Chiefs are 6-point favorites. Over-under sits at 48. What should we expect from Cincinnati? Was last week, were they looking ahead to this game? Or does Cincinnati... They're now 1-8 in weeks 1 and 2 with Joe Burrow as their quarterback.
Well, and this is still week 2. So no, they looked bad. The vibes and the interviews after the game with players were not good. Yeah, it wasn't a great start. They didn't look good. I don't necessarily know if they were looking ahead. I don't think they expected any kind of fight from New England like that. So I think that was a little surprised to get punched in the mouth by New England, to have New England fight them hard like that. But I think Baltimore, I do believe Baltimore is going to miss the playoffs because I think down the stretch they're just going to get jumped by a couple teams. But I think Baltimore is one of the better teams in the league. And the Chiefs struggled and were still able to beat them. Yeah. I got the Chiefs here.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs too. T. Higgins still doubtful to play. I think without that second receiver, teams can really focus on Jamar Chase. And whatever it is with Cincinnati in the early season, I think that continues. Now, you and I and our listening audience and all bettors should realize that at some point, Cincinnati is going to win a game, and then they're going to rip off like 5 games in a row.
Yeah,
we need to remember that, and we need to bet accordingly.
Now, and to be fair, though, I mean, if
that's what they do.
If there is one team that has played the Chiefs super tough during this dynastic run of theirs, it's the Bengals.
It is. It certainly is. But I don't think that Bengals defense is as good as it's been in recent years, and that has me a little worried about them. My bet for them to win the division.
Yeah.
God damn it, Jimmy.
Yeah, let's do it.
The fucking Pittsburgh Steelers, man. They just
want to know.
We
leading Pittsburgh Steelers.
We knew they were going to win that game last week because Pittsburgh always wins that game.
Yep.
And now here they find themselves. They're on the road in Denver. They're favored now by 2.5. This has moved a half point since Wednesday towards the Broncos. Over-under is 36.5. And it's like last week we said this is a classic Steelers win. rookie quarterback against the Pittsburgh defense. Everything is screaming, give me the Steelers in the under, which actually has me a little concerned that Denver might win this game.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. Take the Steelers in the under.
Okay, I guess I'll take the Steelers in the under.
No, I mean, I
know that's what it says, but Pittsburgh has a tendency to lose games like this.
I think this year, so I agree with you. Some years it feels like the only games Tomlin loses are the trap games, but I think Tomlin just wants to, I think Tomlin is going to be ready for trap games this year because he's going to feel like every game's a trap game this year. Like, he's going to feel like I could lose this game 6-0. We got to generate a little bit of offense. Let's go, guys. Like, I don't know. I think they find a way to win this game. Justin Fields 2-0. I don't know.
It would just, we always say that if you're going to bet and you're not sure what to do, bet on whatever will make Browns fans the most miserable, and Pittsburgh winning this game and Justin Fields like putting in a really good performance would just make Browns fans miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I mean, we have 20 years of history that says betting against the Browns and betting on what'll make their fans miserable is a winning bet over the long haul.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of this game. A little bit like I was with Cincinnati. I only put Cincinnati in 2 teases. I had them in a 6-leg and a 7-leg, and they were the only team that lost. And I know you were in a similar boat. I didn't put Cincinnati in more teases than that because I just did not want them to ruin my day.
No, I had 2, we kind of talked about it. I built 2 absolutely beautiful parlays, one on spreads, one on money line. And they were gorgeous, and it was going to cover my bets for the year, and every leg of them both hit except for the Bengals. So
I know. It's just so fucking frustrating to see.
So me and Joe Burrow got some beef right now.
Rocking that Slim Shady / Cody Rhodes haircut.
And then you lose to the Patriots. Come on.
Lose to the fucking Patriots. Jesus
Come
Christ.
on.
Up next, we have the Houston Texans. They're home. They're taking on the Chicago Bears. This is now a 6.5-point spread. It was 7 on Wednesday. Over-under sits at 45.5. As far as debuts go, it couldn't have gone much worse for Caleb Williams, Jimmy.
I mean, you're right.
They got a win, so that helps.
I can't believe anybody could have seen Caleb Williams not playing well in that game. I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely look right so far. I mean, he'll obviously be better than that in the future. I don't know if that happens in this game. Houston didn't really look all that great, at least on the defensive side of the ball. They gave up some big plays. What did you see from that Houston team that has you concerned or has you thinking that they're the team that everybody thinks they can be?
I think they were shocked at how well Anthony Richardson threw a deep ball. And that was the only thing that really concerned me. Like, a big talking point going into the game from the announcers was this should be a Jonathan Taylor game because he eats the Texans alive. The Texans said, no, that's not going to happen. We're going to shut down Jonathan Taylor. To do that, they went single high safety a lot, and Richardson beat him over the top. But all of Anthony Richardson's yards came on, 4 throws.
Yeah.
So I think the Texans were as advertised. C.J. Stroud made 3 world-class throws that maybe Patrick Mahomes is the only other quarterback in the league that can make. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that can throw a ball that the receiver catches and doesn't even know the ball's in his hand. But that's exactly what happened on that throw on the sideline to ice the game. It was an incredible catch by Nico Collins. Incredible throw. The Bears, a lot of people, this reminded a lot of people of, the Mitch Trubisky playoff run. They just mediocre quarterback play, but everything else is really good and they can generate wins. But I don't think they can do anything against this Texans team. I think Texans are going to blow Chicago out, dude.
Wow. I think that Chicago defense is going to play tough. I think they'll keep them in it. I may have to move off Chicago after this week, though. And that line moving down to 6.5 makes me really want to switch from Chicago to Houston. I know it's only a half point, but hearing your analysis of what happened with Houston really, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to actually switch my pick to Houston. I still like the under. I think Houston can put up points. Man, some of those throws to Tank Dell and Nico Collins, it's just, what do you do?
Yeah, and I mean,
there was a play that he threw to Tank Dell where he just had two guys draped on him.
Yeah,
and it's just like you're Indianapolis and you're thinking, okay, we can't let Tank Dell beat us, and then it's like, well, we tried and we couldn't.
Yeah, and it's only it's week 1, so who knows what'll happen, but they got Stephon Diggs involved. Stephon Diggs looked happy. Stephon Diggs was engaged. So I don't know. Maybe D'Amico will figure out. He'll be the coach to figure out how to keep Stephon Diggs.
Well, it's year 1.
Good Stephon Diggs. I don't
Diggs
know.
is always happy in year 1, maybe year 2, but once it gets to year 3 and 4, that's when it's time to get him out.
Yeah, that's kind of what the evidence is. But no, I think the Houston offense is going to be dynamic, and
yeah,
I don't
it
think
certainly looks like it. And man, Joe Mixon, fountain of youth, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Caleb will have a chance. I guess I'll say this. Caleb will have a chance to make some big plays because I think Houston will run the same defense they did because they're going to feel the same exact way against Chicago as they felt against Indy. So he's going to have single high safety. He's going to have guys in single coverage. Caleb is going to have a chance to make some throws. So be an opportunity for him to show like, last week was not who I am. This is who I am. So we'll see what happens.
Next up, our final game of the week is Monday Night Affair. Philadelphia is hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Eagles are 6.5-point favorites. Over-under sits at 47. Man, Saquon Barkley, he just really made that offense look super dynamic and made up for a lot of Jalen Hurts' mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Kirk Cousins healthy?
No. No. Clearly not. Clearly not healthy.
I saw.
Wasn't ready to play. I don't know.
I don't know who it was that wrote it. I read it somewhere that mentioned how Kirk Cousins usually likes to be under center, but because of his injury, it can limit your mobility and your ability to drop back. And they were in shotgun a lot. And that tells me that your comment that he's not healthy is probably spot on. That he doesn't have the confidence in that Achilles to play like he wants to play for a whole game. And I don't know, with all those weapons in Atlanta, if Kirk Cousins can't figure it out, I don't know what they're doing down there. I do like the Eagles in this game. I like the over. I think we get points. Philly's going to light it up. Hurts is probably going to turn the ball over once or twice, but it's not going to matter because that Atlanta defense just isn't good enough. And it's Kirk Cousins on a night game, man.
Yeah, I mean, because even if the Falcons had looked good last week, Kirk Cousins had looked healthy, and they had won, we would still be betting against Kirk Cousins in this game because it's prime time.
Game, yeah.
So please, everybody, bet against Atlanta in this game. Pretty please.
Well, that's it, man. That's the week 2 slate. Everybody's looking to go, everybody's either looking to go 2-0 or avoid going 0-2. A lot of sneaky important games. That Chiefs-Bengals game, if the Bengals get their shit together, could be, who gets home field advantage. And the Chiefs know that. The Browns-Jacksonville game, like we talked about, is an early tiebreaker game for the playoffs. And, how does Baltimore bounce back? What does Sam Darnold look like in Minnesota? Is he actually going to, figure it out like Geno Smith and Baker before him? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be some good games. And I think some of these teams that we saw that looked really bad, like Carolina and the Giants, I think they're just bad. And I know we said Dennis Allen might be the first coach fired, but it looks like it might really be Brian Daboll in New York. Like that team just looked so awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, some people were saying it, and I really believe it. I think probably the first two possessions for the Cleveland Browns are going to be two of the most important possessions for a team all season.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what they can do. I'm hoping to be a little bit better against the spread this week. I was really bad against the spread, but I had 11 and 12 wins on the money line last week.
Mm-hmm.
So the money line was really good, but the half points, there were a ton of half points last week, and they killed me. So
yeah, that's why they do them.
That's why they do them.
I went 9-6-1 against the spread last week, 12-4 on the over-unders, which was good.
That's nice.
Yeah, and I had two nice 14 parlays that hit. One was a money line, and one was some of the bigger spreads. I teased them down to 2.5, like Buffalo, Seattle, Tampa, and who was the other one? Oh, the Chargers, because I knew that was one of my four teams. And that was great. It was really nice. Any specific players you think are going to go off this week, Jimmy? That maybe our bettors should look to throw some money on?
Saquon.
Yeah. I think he's going to go over his combined yardage, and he's probably going to score 2 touchdowns.
I think Saquon, and then I imagine Detroit's going to stick to their same defensive philosophy, so Mike Evans.
Man, Mike Evans, he's just good.
I think if there are 2 anytime touchdowns that you want to put together, I would say Saquon and Mike Evans. Yeah,
that's probably a good parlay.
Yeah.
You can probably get like plus 300 on that.
You can probably throw Cooper Kupp in there for yards and a touchdown, too.
Ooh, that's a nice 4-leg parlay.
Yeah.
Probably getting up to like plus 800. You get a bonus in there. That's over plus 1,000.
Yep.
Ooh, I like it. That might be one I make tomorrow.
There it is, bud.
All right. Well, it's week 2 of the season. We're already talking about off the field Browns drama, so it's just another season in Cleveland.
Another year.
And we will be back next week to see if the Browns, are 1-1 or 0-2. And if it's 0-2, oh boy, is Cleveland radio going to be an entertaining listen next week.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me to talk some football this morning, Jimmy. It was great having you.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
And I want to thank all of you for listening. We do these pods every week. We'll be dropping them on Saturday afternoons before the Sunday game, so you can get all your bets in. For Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore, and we are no broken legs.